Greetings all, and welcome to the Buddha's Invitation, done while driving in a bit of snow. And I cannot deny that it is very beautiful. And luckily there's really no ice that I'm aware of. So today we want to talk about yoga and how it also relates to Buddhism. And we talked in a little short video a while back about how yoga is its own spiritual practice, its own path to liberation. Now there's a kind of a classical, or one of the classical ways of understanding yoga is that it actually has three main branches or paths. And they are Jnana yoga, or the yoga of knowledge, Bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion, and Karma yoga, like the yoga of action. Karma meaning to do. And the thing about these yogic paths is, before we start talking about them, is everything we're going to say about a specific path is present in all the other paths. But it's a matter and degree of emphasis. So for instance, Jnana yoga emphasizes knowledge. And not simply the knowledge you would get from, say, reading or studying. It includes that for sure. But especially, I think, in the end, has to do with what we in the West might call gnosis, experiential knowledge. Shankaracharya is very explicit about this, as is the Buddha. You know, for the Buddha, this entire world comes into existence due to avidya, or ignorance. And the only way you can fix avidya, or ignorance, is with vidya, or with non-ignorance, with knowledge. And all the other practices, meditation, the practice of love, loving kindness, etc., all of that leads us to a point where we gain actual vidya. And this would be true for Shankaracharya and I think non-dualistic Vedanta. Another type of yoga, Bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is a yoga of devotion. And you might say, to borrow Christian language, it's devotion to God and neighbor, love of others, love of God. And you can read Narada's Bhakti Sutras, and he actually claims that this is the easiest path, yogic path to practice. It does not mean it's easy. It is not easy to root for those who are actively seeking your destruction. You know, those who want to oppress you and those who actually hate you. It's very difficult. But certainly this was forefront in the early church. This is what, if you read the Didache, we're going to do that in our Greek reading pretty soon. That is what they talk about, is, you know, what merit do you have? Normal people hate their enemies. You're called to love your enemies. And again, that's not easy, but it's part of the path. And it helps to break down our ego and helps bring us to a place where we can have actual knowledge, actual vidya. And then lastly, there's this yoga of karma, action, where we devote our actions, or we don't consider actions as being something that we are doing for ourselves. We work and labor for others, maybe for the divine, for the universe. And again, this is to help separate us from our little egoic minds. And the thing about these three yogic paths is you can see how they may not be talked about, certainly like in Theravada Buddhism. But they're very much present, because one thing that the Buddha talks about very often are the three unwholesome roots of greed / desire or lust. That would be one. There's hatred, and then there's delusion. And the Buddha's strategy for overcoming these sorts of unwholesome roots, or these unwholesome feelings, is to replace them with positive, wholesome kusala, with positive, wholesome actions. So you can imagine if hatred is manifesting in us, then we practice loving kindness, metta. That would be a bhaktic yoga practice. If we are deluded, and we all are, unless we are completely enlightened, we are deluded, we have to practice jnana yoga, or we have to come up with vidya. That is, we have to learn, and we have to come up with this gnosis, this experiential knowledge. And finally, of course, if we have like this, if we have kind of a lust or a desire, the karma yoga could come to our aid, because it will de-emphasize us and our desire, and it would, what would we say? I'm drawing a blank here. It would forefront would bring to the fore other people's needs and wants, and see the needs of others and not treat others as objects. So that's what I have for us today. As always, I'm interested in what you, dear listener, have to say about this. What you feel is or would be the ideal yogic practice for you, or the easiest yogic practice. And as always, peace and love.